Authorities in New York say 2 people died and 9 others injured in a shooting early on Friday outside the landmark Empire State Building in midtown Manhattan. The dead include 56-year-old gunman Jeffrey Johnson, who was shot by police. China Daily columnist Chen Weihua and journalist Zhou Boris will join us to talk more about the incident in this week's edition of Across America Talk. Hello and welcome to Across America Talk. Just blocks away from our studio in New York City, a disgruntled ex-worker gunned down his former supervisor outside the Empire State Building before he was shot by the police today. Joe, let me start with you. The media tend to focus on what we might call dramatic shooting. What is wrong with this, media report? And do you think they are doing a good job in terms of reporting gun violence accurately?
I think media portrayals tend to focus naturally enough on the immediate sort of sensational aspects of whatever case happens to be occurring at that time. But I don't think that we necessarily get a full picture of motive often. And of course, as we've discussed among the three of us already in relation to the shooting last month in July in Aurora, Colorado, there often is very little discussion of the gun policies that enabled mass acts of violence to occur. This was, fortunately, an incident today in New York with only 2 people killed, including the perpetrator. But it could have been worse. There certainly were a lot of tourists and office workers in the area, construction workers, everyone in the middle of midtown Manhattan. Scurrying about, going about their business. And fortunately, the result was not much worse. But whether the media will give us a full picture of what drove the suspect, who's now dead himself, to this unfortunate end is debatable. We'll have to see, but I expect we'll probably get a continuation, a repeat of the cycle of coverage that we normally do, where there's a lot of speculation as to what might have happened, but maybe not really much of a discussion about workplace incidents, which this has every indication of being, according to the police, and probably a further sense of quiet on the gun control debate.
I want just to add to the talk about media impact, on these gun violence. I think the media, in journalism, a lot of people believe sex and murder sells the newspaper and help get more viewership. That is why you see CNN would engage in like 24/7 about after Colorado shooting, get all the graphic details. I think the real talk is really about they should actually talk about gun control, but instead they devote to every detail about the suspect, about the violence. I don't think that's helpful.
Let's continue with this topic, Weihua. As a New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg earlier stated that the U.S. President Barack Obama has spent his first term trying to avoid the debate over gun control. What is your opinion?
I think gun control talk in this country is like poisonous. For politicians. If you recall 1993, Bill Clinton pushed for ban on assault weapon. The result is the Democrats lost a majority in the Congress, and many Democrats had this bitter, memory of those years, and now no one dare to try it again. I don't think President Obama want to risk that in this election year, and the Republican challenger Mitt Romney actually said he didn't support any new law on gun control. And even if you just, as I try to search video on YouTube, you actually find more video against the gun control than pro-gun control. That's quite shows how powerful these gun lobbyists are. So I think I'm not optimistic about this gun control law in the coming years, actually.
Actually, this is really what is puzzling me, because we've seen people who show their anger toward gun violence, but why does President Barack Obama or Mitt Romney, they don't seem to be taking any action against gun violence?
Well, I mean, it is easy. I mean, powerful organizations like NIA, they already threatened to politicians, anyone, the congressman in particular, anyone who is going to initiate bills on gun control, the NIA is going to go after them, which means they're going to campaign against you. So for politicians, the most important thing is to get reelected. So that's why, I mean, no one wants to fight this unwinnable war, I believe. And really, I mean, we are in New York. If you go to the hinterland, the sentiment of gun control is quite different, actually, if you talk to people there.
Actually, Joe, I remember Michael Bloomberg once said, okay, President Barack Obama or Mitt Romney, if you want to get the votes from us, you're going to do something over this. What is your prediction? Do you think they will have any pressure?
I certainly don't think today's shooting with 2 people dead, and I hate to bring this down to body counts, but I'm afraid we may be at the point where only a full-on massacre of unprecedented proportions, perhaps in a large city, is the sort of thing, if to the extent that one incident even can be a catalyst for any sort of return of this issue to the forefront. I don't think today's shooting in New York will accomplish that. And I note that the mayor's words after the shooting today were decidedly quiet on the point of whether further gun control measures should take place. I think he's speaking to a local audience now in his city, and I think his attempts were to be more reassuring and comforting and tell people that the situation had been resolved peacefully, without more people being killed, thankfully. But perhaps in coming days there will be further discussion, but I wouldn't expect any major changes coming from today's.
Okay, thank you both for coming to our show. Thanks for watching this week's edition of Across America Talk. Next week, we're going to continue our discussion. Bye-bye.